Hello, my name is Ridley and welcome to my kitchen. And this is my kitchen how I found it. We're doing our first stop in Mexico today and we are going to the Yucatan Peninsula. Yucatan Peninsula? In any case. So what we're going to be doing today is a take on a traditional dish called Cochinita Pibil. Now, Cochinita just means little pig, and a pib was a underground oven that you would actually cook a full suckling pig in. So I don't have access to a pib, so we're going to be doing a close approximation of the Cochinita Pibil, but I am very excited to try this one too. The spices are ones I'm familiar with, and the process I think will produce something super, super tasty. So the main star of the dish is going to be this, which is just a pork back roast or a pork butt. It's been sliced along 2-inch slabs. You want somewhere between 4 and 5 pounds if you have boneless, a little bit more if the bone is in there. I have already cut this and removed the bone because that's a little fiddly. But now it's a little over that, but I'm just going to cook extra because I'm going to think it's tasty. Now, we're going to be making a marinade to put into the pork and just sort of coat it in flavor while it's cooking. And that is going to be a mixture of garlic, a whole bunch of spices, which in here we've got oregano, annatto seed, which is achiote. There is allspice, a little bit of black pepper, some cumin, and then a tiny little bit of cinnamon. Now this is cassia bark instead of Ceylon cinnamon, which is a little bit more mild. So if you're using Ceylon, add more, but little piece if you're using cassia, and a few whole cloves. So that spice blend is going to be roasted up in some fat. I have chosen tallow for this one because I have some on hand and I think it's going to be extra tasty. And then a little bit of bay leaves, which are going to just all be together mixed with some citrus to give it some zing, and that is the marinade base. Now, the citrus, if you can find it, is going to be bitter orange juice or Seville orange juice. I wasn't able to find it, so instead, this is an equal mixture of grapefruit, orange, and lime juice. That's the closest approximation that I've seen, and it seems to be pretty consistent, so we're using that. Now, all of that goes together with a little bit of umami from some soy sauce, and then also a little bit of zing from some vinegar. And then once we have that marinade, we are going to layer the pork with some vegetables. Right here I've got tomatoes, onions, and some bell peppers, and it gets wrapped up in banana leaves, which I've never used before, so I'm very excited to see how this works. But theoretically, wrapping everything in here, we're going to then tie it up with some twine, let all the marinade soak with it while it's cooking, and then that's going to maintain a lot of the moisture inside, especially because there's a lot of moisture in the leaves themselves. I'm thinking that's going to kind of help steam it along the way. So that's a new technique I've not tried. I'm a little bit more familiar with the spices here, but really it's the method that I'm excited to see. This is going to end up being more of like a pulled pork that we're going to just serve with some tacos. I'm familiar with this approach to things, with how it's going to end up, so I just think the flavors should be super, super tasty. The only thing that we can really do over here is take care of the garlic, which this method can be done a bunch of different ways. So I'm going to do the one that I think is the most fun, but also potentially the most dangerous. So you want to char the garlic and then get the blackened skins off. And so this is very similar to what I've seen with roasting peppers, where you really quickly blacken the outside over like a fire grill. And then you would, for a pepper, let it sit inside a plastic bag. But for the garlic, you're just allowing the heat from it to help roast the garlic a bit, but then the blackened skin comes off and you don't have to deal with that extra burned flavor. So because of that, it specifically is an entire head of garlic, but with the skins still on the individual cloves, just broken down from the full head. I think you could probably put the entire head somewhere if you had like a gas burner and maybe put the whole head over it and roast it at once. But I think this is going to get more of the roasted flavor to more parts of the garlic. Now here I am just using a kebab skewer that I have, and I like this one because when you're done you can push this metal handle here and press everything off. So these are going to be really hot when I'm done. You want to let them cool off before you remove the skins. I think having them not stuck on the metal rod is going to help them cool off a lot faster, so I like the idea of having that mechanism involved. Now, yes! So, if you want to do this safely, you can put these directly in just a skillet, dry skillet on the stove until the skins blacken. Or if you have a gas grill and you want to use that to crisp them up, but I have a propane torch, so that's what I'm going to use. And the goal here is to get them blackened on all sides. So we want that blackened part to them. I'm getting some ignition on the skins, which I'm not surprised by. This is very hot. Awesome. Take care if you try this. All right, I'm gonna go find a couple that I lost down below. I'm gonna let these cool down while we move everything back over to the stove, because everything else is just going to be a little bit of cooking to prepare the items to get blended together for the marinade, and then wrapping in the banana leaves, all of which I think will work better over there. So see you in a bit. All right. So, a little bit of cooling and the skins on the garlic came right off. I imagine if you used a less intense flame, you would probably get additional heating into the garlic themselves, but I'm totally fine with this. It was more fun to use a blowtorch. I have added the tallow into the pan here. I've just got it over medium heat, and it has thoroughly melted down. I don't think I really want to get this to a smoking point or anything like that, but we want the extra heat to help release all the additional aromatics in these spices. So, all of those dry spices that we were looking at earlier, the annatto seed, we have the oregano, the black pepper, the cinnamon, the cloves, the cumin seeds, along with the allspice berries, are all going to go in here and just fry up for a couple of minutes just to help release those additional aromatics. All right, and I'm going to keep a close eye on this and just make sure that I am not letting any of it scorch and stirring to keep it moving over the heat. All right, so while this is frying up, I have just a little thing to go with my immersion blender. I'm going to take all of that peeled garlic from earlier, except for the one that I dropped on the floor. And then I am also going to be adding that vinegar, the citrus juice, and the soy sauce from earlier. And then all of that is going to get mixed with this spice mix. And we're going to blend it all together until smooth. It says it should be a semi-thick consistency, almost like an oyster sauce, maybe a little thicker like a ketchup. All right, so I think the aromatics are pretty good there. Gonna move them all into here, which we'll do as best as we can on that. Definitely got plenty hot. Definitely plenty hot. I am going to let this cool just a touch before I blend it, because I am not as confident as I would like to be in this heat. All right, we'll give that just a second to cool and then be back. All right, last but not least, I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. And I'm gonna keep this handy because once we've got it blended, we're gonna season to taste with salt and just get it to the point where we want it to be, which is, I have no idea. So, put this fully immersed. I think it's done. I mean, it smells spectacular, whatever it is that we have created. It's very tangy. It's got really good flavor to it. It's very warming. It is not quite as smooth as I need it to be, so I'm going to go a little bit longer on there, but not too much more salt. And I think that'll be good. All right, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes of blending here, and then get a couple of things rearranged for us to actually get it all wrapped up in its banana leaf coffin. So I'll see you in a few minutes with a little different setup. So I have smoothed this out probably to the best consistency I can with my immersion blender. I don't have anything super fancy there, but taste-wise, it's really, really interesting, and I think it's got this really good tang that'll work with the flavor of the pork. So, just going to be putting all of this into a large bowl, and then pouring the marinade out onto it, getting it all mixed up onto the pork so it's in all the crevices and everything. And then we're just going to put this in the refrigerator and let it sit for about an hour until we are ready to get it in the banana leaves. And this really, really dark red color comes from those achiote seeds. So that is where you're going to get almost all of the color for the dish. Wow, but it smells spectacular. All right, so I'm gonna get this marinating. I'm gonna get the smoker ready because we are going to be cooking this in a smoker, just because that's going to allow us to do a really nice maintained heat. You can do this in an oven if you would prefer, or you can also do it on a grill, but I like the idea of having that extra bit of smokiness. The last step that we need to do before we actually get it over the heat here is to wrap them in some banana leaves. Now these I was able to find at a local Hispanic market in the frozen section, and they just need to be thawed overnight in the fridge, so that's what I've got here. You may want to make sure you wash them down and sanitize them after you pull them out before you use them. I haven't done any banana leaf stuff before, so what I have found to have been helpful here is I put the twine underneath a panel of banana leaf here, And then I'm going to take a bit of meat, put it on here. All right, so what we want to do with this packet here is to put the meat here across the banana leaf, and then we're going to add some of those sliced tomatoes from earlier. We're going to add some of the bell pepper just across the top there, some of the onions, and then a couple of bay leaves right over the top of everything. And then we are going to take the top and the bottom and bring them up here. We want these to meet in the middle. So I probably would next time use just a slightly larger leaf on this one. Wrap the sides up as well. And so then all of the vegetables, all of the spice and marinade are going to be trapped inside. We're going to do a quick cross here and then just flip it over. Bring this together and tie it off. And that is going to be one little sachet. So then I'm going to do that with all of the pieces of pork. So in the end, I will have numerous little envelopes of the pre-wrapped banana leaves. And then this is what we're gonna put onto the smoker itself and cook that for a few hours. So I'm gonna finish the rest of those and then we'll head outside and get everything cooked. These have been going for a little over 4 hours now on the smoker. Temperature-wise, kept it at around 270 degrees Fahrenheit. Just trying to keep something as a moderate to slow cook that I thought would produce a decent amount of smoke flavor. But I have no idea. So now we're just gonna put one of these into a bowl, and if this has turned out well, you would be able to just put all of them into a big dish together and then just shred them from there. But theoretically, we should be able to unwrap this and then literally just use some forks to shred it along with the vegetables in there into a delicious, delicious pork. But you do not want to include the banana leaves, so we're going to remove those, and those can just be tossed. Also, I am going to pull out the bay leaves because I don't think those are going to shred at all. So bay leaves are out. And then we can pull and shred this into some pieces. It's not quite as tender as, say, some braised pork that I've seen before. And I think that may be that the banana leaves that I used weren't completely sealed. Could probably do several layers of the banana leaves, and that would do a better job of retaining the moisture inside. But it is still pulling apart, and the smell of this is spectacular. That marinade turned into a seasoning coat around the outside. And the vegetables are nice and tender, so I think those are going to incorporate really nicely with everything. So I will shred up this one and probably a couple more, and then we will come back with Bruce and do a taste test on some tacos and see how it turned out. So, scent-wise, these have a really nice, complex aroma to them. It's not necessarily spicy, but it's warm. Added a little bit of cheese to each of them. And then I personally had a tiny bit of hot sauce added to mine because I like hot sauce, but I did different flavors on each one.
They look delicious. So, let's get to it.
Definitely.
I think these are delicious.
It's very delicious.
I think they're tender enough as far as the meat goes.
I think I would probably personally like it more with a little of fresh citrus alongside it, like some lime juice over the top.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then maybe a little more salt. So I didn't add a whole ton to the actual marinade because I didn't want to overwhelm it, and salt can get too much too quick. But
I mean, this is fantastic.
a little bit of spice. Oh, and if you get a bit of the vegetables.
I did. It's like a nice, refreshing change, like a palate.
Getting all of it together in a bite is awesome. There's still a tiny bit of bite, like not crunch left to them. They're soft, but they haven't disintegrated at all. The flavor is suffused from that marinade in all of the vegetables, and then, of course, in all of the pork.
I can eat like 40 of these.
Well, with the 6 tacos that we made, there is this much left in this bowl, and 3 more that I haven't shredded yet. So the recipe makes a lot of food.
Yeah.
Be prepared. I'm probably going to end up shredding this bit over here separately, freezing it separately, and then just having some incredibly exorbitant taco nights in the coming days.
There's not much more to say. This is awesome. I mean, tacos are great, but these are really good tacos.
And it's kind of like fajitas where the vegetables are already mixed in. There's enough of them without there being not enough meat. I'm happy about this. Alright. Hot sauce number 2, and I guess we'll be eating tacos for a while, but we will see you next time.